Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to Manthano Parenting Conference 2022. And thank you for taking time for this session. I'm so excited to have our speaker here with me today, Yetty Williams. And I'll just quickly tell you all about her. Miss Yetty Williams is a social entrepreneur and has over 20 years working experience, which spans across financial services, real estate, consulting. And she is the founder of LagosMums, the first Nigerian blog dedicated to moms, parents, and caregivers. In 2021, LagosMums was selected as one of the winners in the Africa Online Safety Fund set up by Google.org. Yetty is a certified life coach and neuro-linguistics programming practitioner. She is the lead consultant at Slay with Digital, where she consults on digital transformation and strategic digital media marketing planning for business owners and companies. Yes, Yetty has won many awards over the years and was selected as a partner for the Power Initiative. She is married to Afolabi Williams, a very supportive LagosDad and supported by Google. She is married. She has two blessed children who have inspired her to start a compilation of funny things children say. Sorry. So Ms. Yetty, welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me here, Karen.
Nice to have you. And I can see, I'm just reading your bio, and even as I read it, I'm telling myself, wow, you have done so much in this area, which we're about to speak on, which is technology and parenting. And I just want to know, what inspired you really to have, to create such an amazing platform called LagosMums.com?
Yeah, great. So thanks for inviting me again. And indeed, so I started LagosMums 10 years ago now, and I started it when I had, excuse me, I have a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old now. So this was when I was a stay-at-home mom when my baby was still very young. So I had a toddler at 2 and my baby. And I had been working 9 to 5, I lived very far, traffic was horrendous. I used to get home late. And I just decided, the kind of mom I wanted to be hands-on. I wanted to be there for them. And I wanted to parent differently. I didn't necessarily want to do how things were done before. So I found that I was always kind of going online to look for information. And one of the earliest memories I have of being a new mom was when I decided to breastfeed exclusively. And my mom and my mom-in-law couldn't understand why I wanted to do that. They were like, why? There's formula. Why are you going to stress yourself? What's going on? But I had done all this research and talked to doctors and realized it's actually the best for the baby. And you can't really go and do it again. You can't go at 2 years old and say, oh, I kind of wish I had done it. Let's go back to breastfeeding. So I had told myself I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it exclusively for 6 months. And that was my plan. Now, that's one of my earliest memories of where I directly, quote and unquote, went against what my mom and mom-in-law kind of said. You know what, it's okay. You don't have to kill yourself doing that. You can supplement with formula. And I just didn't want to. So I remember one day waking up and I saw my aunt who crept into my room, and I saw her pick up a formula from beside the bed because, in the hospital where I had the baby, they had given me some formula to take home to try, but I didn't plan to use any of them. So I happened to wake up and I said, what's going on? And she was like, well, you were sleeping and the baby is crying and wants to eat and we didn't want to wake you up. So I just thought, why don't I come and pick up one of those formulas you came from the hospital with to give her? And I was like, no, but I said, I don't have any other job. I'm sleeping, yes, but I always said when the baby wakes up for food, wake me up to feed. So I know they meant it from a really good place, but I said, no, I want to breastfeed. And thankfully, I didn't have any challenges with producing enough milk. So it wasn't that I couldn't. So anyway, so those are one of the earliest memories of being a bit, difficult because I said no. if I can't trust you to wake me up when my baby's sleeping, then I'm going to keep my baby beside me all the time. Right? So anyway, so that was one example. And then I used to find a lot of information for parenting. I had lived in the US for many years, but back at this time, I was back in Nigeria. And I found that there was really no information speaking to me as a mother in Lagos, in Nigeria. And I thought, you know what? I'm sure there are other mothers who have questions about how to raise children, what's different. Do we continue to do things how we were raised, or have things evolved? And mind you, LagosMums, when I started it, we're older than Instagram. To show you how long ago I had this idea that technology could connect parents, right? So while I took time off when I had my baby and the toddler, I decided to say, you know what, this idea I've been toying in my head with, why don't I start a website? Why don't I start a blog called LagosMums? That was literally how I decided to start it during the stay-at-home period. So I keep telling women, never look down on your maternity period, because you don't know what's going to come out of it, right? You don't know what could happen.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really the beginning of the journey. So I started it just as a side hustle, just for the fun of it, saying that I would go back to work when my baby at the time, started school at about 18 months. The idea was then I would go back to 9 to 5. But LagosMums had started, and it was clear that this was a need. And from there, it's really evolved. And I could never have foreseen, the impact and the size and the group and the connections that we've grown into 10 years later. Mm-hmm. And it's the one thing that I do that doesn't get tired, it doesn't get boring. There's always something to navigate. And as we all know, with parenting, it doesn't stop. There's always a new stage. So when people say things like, oh, just get through the toddler years, I'm like, well, what about when you get into starting school? What about when it's online safety and being on devices and teenage years? There's always something. And so since then, I've really gone back to really develop my my skill set in the space of not only being a fantastic parent, as the best parent I can be for my children, but also saying, how do I help other parents to be even more effective? So I've gotten a lot of training, and I absolutely love technology. So my children know that I don't come at technology from a place of not understanding the power. I understand the power, but if anything, that's why the onus is more on you to use it in an empowering way to make the right decisions, because this same technology can either break you or it can make you grow. So that's so everything I do really has technology at the heart of it. And so that's a little bit of my journey, excuse me, and how I've evolved and what I do. So I'm founder of LagosMums. I love helping women who own businesses to grow their businesses using technology, because you can no longer afford to have a business that doesn't use technology to optimize it and grow it. You can't separate it anymore, no matter what field you're in. SME, coach, whatever you are, you have to be using technology the right way. So I love to do that as well. And then I do a lot of coaching, a lot of speaking, a lot of training around raising children in the digital age, what that means and how we win as parents. So that's a little bit about me.
Fantastic. Do you want to would you like to just share on that part, the technology and parenting? Because I know that parents right now, and coming out of COVID most especially, I've had so many parents talk about the challenges that they've had with their children, no matter the age, just in the area of the usage of it. There's so many, the world has become a big world wide web, and the access is immediate. So brilliantly, what would you advise parents in that area?
That's definitely the biggest challenge with parenting today. There's always different challenges per time. And I remember many years ago going through a course online. I'm a lifelong learner, and I've taught the children that you don't stop learning till the day you go home. So you constantly have to show up and be willing to learn. And I came across a course by Jeffrey Sachs, I believe, where he talked about the different industrializations we went through. So first, what's what I'm looking for? First revolution, second, third, fourth, and how we got to the digital. And what I realized was that at every core time where something new happened and landed on the scene of the world, everybody was up in arms about it. Like, oh my God, this is new. This is going to be the end of humanity, whatever it is, right? And it's about understanding. There's a passage I really like that says, two I'm going to refer to. One is, my people perish for lack of knowledge. And the other is, being as wise as the serpent, but yet as gentle as the dove. And when you think about that, you're like, wait, how is it the two? But what it really speaks to is you have to understand what is going on in the world. We might not be of the world, but you are in the world. So that means that because you are here, you are physically here, you have to understand what's going on so that you can have the right strategies to not be a victim of it. So if we're raising children in a world that we didn't grow up with technology, so we don't understand it at the core of it, we've had to learn how to be technology abled as an adult, right? Our children on the flip side were born, if you have a Gen Z today, they don't know a world before digital. So it's like you're an alien and you're trying to raise somebody who's an immigrant of a country you're an alien in, right? It doesn't work. It's very stressful. And for children, because they feel that they have all the knowledge at their fingertips, parents can actually struggle with their place of relevance. Because you can feel, because typically a parent is supposed to raise a child in the way they should go, teach them everything they need to know. When we were growing up, if you had a question, you asked your mom or your dad, and whatever they said was it. You didn't have that muscle in your body to even think that you could go check it yourself or you could go verify. Now your children, all they need to do is go to Google. They don't need to ask you. So for us, parenting has really shifted. And I think one of the biggest things to learn or to realize rather as a parent today is that the power, nobody has the monopoly on knowledge. Nobody. You don't have the monopoly on knowledge. There's nothing your child wants to know that he or she cannot find out. Right? So when you realize that I'm not in that position of the know-it-all, excuse me.
Sorry.
I think your parenting changes a little bit. So if you don't know it all, but yet you're supposed to be there to give your children the context, right? So it's not about content, it's about context. Your child can find anything out online, but does that mean it is right? Does that mean the context with which they are seeing it is correct? Like I've told my children, Google doesn't own any information. All it does is to provide you with a world of options you can choose from. You need to be the one to understand what is right. How do I verify it? Is this information helpful? Should I be clicking on this? Should I be going down this rabbit hole? That is what we need to learn, teach our children so that they are empowered in the digital age. But what I find is because a lot of parents still feel that their word is the final word, or their parenting style is very authoritarian. For example, you get your children to just retreat into their digital world. And once that wall gets built, it becomes very difficult to be a parent that can guide their children in this world where they have 24/7 access all the time at their fingertips. And guess what? They don't need your permission to see this information. They don't need it. So that's a big tension point. And when I work with parents and families, I start from there to say, what is your parenting style? What's your child's love language? Because if you don't get that right and you're trying to come down with a hammer in today's day and age, you are going to lose your child, because children today are different. They believe in being respected. They demand respect. They want to be heard. They don't understand why they shouldn't be heard. No, gone are the days of saying children should be seen but not heard. Not anymore.
Oh, because I said so.
Because I said so. They're like, because you said so, no problem now. Uncle Google is waiting for me to tell me what I really want to know. So I think the relationship has to change. We're not giving our power away. However, we have to be wise. We have to understand. And I have 3 steps here that I'd love to talk through on how a parent can start to shift from, all right, I don't have all the answers. I don't have to have all the answers. Guess what? You're not supposed to have all the answers. What you're supposed to do is be an enabling safe space for your child to know that I can come to my parents to discuss things, no matter what happens. Your parents today, you have to work on your communication style. If you're somebody who always shouts, sorry, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And our children have an alternative.
They do.
They have an alternative. So that is what I will say. One of the biggest things that have changed is that the digital age has changed everything in the world, including parenting and family. But when you come from a place of, all right, this is just the age that we're in, it's the digital age, the fourth industrial revolution, fine. What that means is with it, there are opportunities, there are challenges. How do I ensure that my family is not eaten up by the negativity and the threats, but rather we're focused on what are the strengths and the opportunities that exist in the time that we're in.
So please do share these 3 strategies. I'm eager to learn.
Yeah. So the first one is, I would say we need to realize that we need to educate our children. If your children don't know, guess what? They're not even going to know when they're about to walk into a pothole, right? I always use this example for Nigerian parents. They would understand. We have a bridge called the Third Mainland Bridge. And it's just it's the longest bridge, I believe, in Africa or something, but it's a bridge. And I keep saying that no parent is going to give their child a car key at 10 and say, here's the car key. I'm going to drop you on Third Mainland Bridge, and I hope you get home safely. Parents are like, come on, of course not. I'm like, but that's what we're doing in the digital world. And I dare say that doing that and dropping your child in the digital jungle without educating them, without training them, without talking about what is expected, without highlighting the safety issues, the danger signs, it's more dangerous because your child has this access 24/7 all the time. But for a child to learn how to drive, they have to go to driving school, right? They have to wait till their particular age based on the country you're in. They have to actually learn how to drive, pass the test, then get a license. So it's with that same principle that you have to realize that in the digital age, you need to equip your child, you need to educate them about how to be responsible digital citizens. And it's not going to just happen because a 2-year-old knows how to swipe your phone without telling them. That does not mean the same thing as a child who's educated in terms of how to be a responsible digital citizen. So that's the first thing. We need to educate our children. We need to let them know what's out there. We need to let them know the good and the bad. But please, parents, we're not trying to do scaremongering. We're not trying to scare them, right? The same way growing up, your parents would say, if a boy talks to you, you're going to get pregnant. Usually, those were the girls that unfortunately sometimes did get pregnant because nobody told them what it actually means to avoid finding yourself in that situation. So if a parent just cloaks it and says, if a boy talks to you, you'll get pregnant, and the boy talks to you the first time, the second time, you don't get pregnant, you're like, okay, maybe something here isn't.
Yeah. And then they don't really realize how.
Exactly. They don't understand the how of it. They don't understand how to protect themselves, and they don't understand what your values are. Just the same way as I'm a Christian and my children understand what our values are around intimacy, for example. They understand it. So it's the same thing with the social media world and being online. A lot of children are having relationships right on their phones, and parents don't even know. And parents will be saying, I've told my child you can't date until you're 18, but hello, what are they doing online? They might be having multiple relationships online and you don't even know. So we need to educate our children and let them know how to be a responsible digital citizen. Don't leave it to chance. So that's the first one. Should I keep going?
Of course, please.
Yeah. The second one is to empower them, which is why I don't come from a place of scaremongering. Don't scare them. Don't use that kind of example of, if a boy talks to you, you'll get pregnant. It is a lie. Tell them the truth. Just the same way I tell parents from as young as 2 years old, let your children know the correct body parts, please. Stop saying things like, oh, the PP. No, tell them the correct body parts. And people say things like, but if I tell my child the correct body parts, won't he just go around saying it all the time? And I say, when you tell your 2-year-old, this is head, shoulders, knees, and toes, you know that song? Do they go around saying head, 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 head? They don't. They use it in the appropriate way at the appropriate time. It is the same thing with every body part. So we need to demystify. We need to stop making things seem like we don't talk about that. Oh, that makes me awkward. Okay, if it makes you awkward, there's somebody waiting who is not feeling awkward You're going to tell your child what they want your child to hear, and it might not be the right thing.
And go entirely against your values.
Absolutely.
Right.
So we have to empower them to make the right decisions. You know, we started with educate them. So you educate them, then you empower them to make the right choices. The same way a child should be comfortable saying no. The same way you want to teach your child not to go with a stranger. The same way you teach your child to not keep secrets, because many times groomers and abusers start with secrets, right? Don't tell mommy, don't tell anybody. So if you haven't taught your child and empowered your child to know that, no, we don't keep secrets, that child can become a victim, because that's how groomers typically start. Don't tell anybody, it's just me and you know, that kind of thing. And children are innocent. So when you empower them to say no, you empower them to understand that, you know what, I have a choice in my online activities. I have a part to play to be a responsible digital citizen. And this is where I spend a lot of time working with families and children, because we talk a lot. I have a curriculum of what you need to talk to your children about in the digital world. So before you hand them a device, have you talked about all these things? What does your child do if an ad pops up? Do they click on it? If you don't talk to them about it, you don't know what's behind that click. It could be a hacker, it could be porn, it could be anything. So you need to talk to your children. And guess what? Because of my digital technology background, I also understand when you click on something, as I tell all parents, that IP address that's been, you know, as a cookie, that IP address has been saved behind a particular topic. For example, the computer doesn't know that's a 5-year-old that mistakenly clicked on gambling. What it means is every time the child goes online now, guess what they're going to be seeing more of? Gambling ads.
Gambling ads, yeah.
So you need to realize that when you empower your child and you teach them, so when a child understands that, listen, if you click on things you shouldn't click on, you're going to see more of it. The more of it that you see, the likelihood that you're going to, down the line, become hooked on it. Any child can understand that, right? So I say empower them to make the right choices, you know, empower them when it comes to things like screen time. I tell every parent, you must have screen time conversations in your house. You must have a family digital well-being plan. What does that mean? Maybe dinner time is screen free. 10 o'clock, you have to turn in your devices depending on the age of your child, right? This is the reason we have screen time, to protect you from certain things. But rules without relationship leads to rebellion. So empower them. You've educated them, then you empower them to make the right choices and let them know they have a part to play. You know, digital footprint, there's so much. You can't even unpack all of that on this right now with technology, but that's a big part of it. And then the last one is empathize.
I love that word.
As parents, empathize with your children. Put yourself in your 14-year-old's shoes. And imagine when you were going through self-esteem issues, your body was changing, you're dealing with friends, you know, you're dealing with all of these things. And suddenly now you're doing it 24/7 online, where everybody else has an opinion about you and your life in addition to you. It can be unnerving. So if you haven't taught a child to understand what it means and things like body positivity, do you know how many people online, how many children now have what's it called now? Selfie dysmorphia, which means that they've gotten so used to using filters. When they look in the mirror, they no longer like what they look like.
I know. I was actually showing my daughter just the other day, just to actually empower her and also emphasize. I showed her this lovely TikTok thing, and then this girl, she came up and everything was a filter: the glasses, the phone in her hand, her hair color, her face and everything. And I said, can you see what filters do nowadays? So what you see is not really the true picture. So any child can start copying, thinking, oh, I want to be like this person, not knowing it's not real.
It's not real. Absolutely. And I remember while doing research, I found out that there's something called well, they're computer generated images, and they have pages of AI influencers. So influencers that are robots. And some children didn't even know that it was a robot's page, because it looked so real. So imagine a child comparing their lives to a virtual reality they can never, ever live up to. It will cause a lot of mental health challenges. So do you see what I mean? You have to empathize, because when you empathize and understand the world your children are living in, you come from a very different angle. You are like, you know what? Wow, there's so much coming at them and they don't have the capacity. They don't have the agency yet to make this kind of long-term decisions. So you need to be there for them, to be their guide. But the only way you can guide them is to know, is to have a good relationship with them, and is to not behave like a dinosaur. Because every time you behave like a dinosaur, I don't understand this stuff. Oh, you TikTok children, all you like to do is be online all the time. Once you make it you versus them, then that means you're not empathizing with them. Versus saying, okay, this child likes to be on TikTok so much. Let me go into my child's world to understand why he or she likes TikTok. Or my child likes this particular YouTuber. Why? What do you like about what this YouTuber does? You'll be amazed what lurks, because your online behavior and interest also is a map to what you are interested in. So a child who likes to play video games a lot, rather than say no video games, be like, all right, actually, esports is becoming a thing. Esports is about to become something that the Olympics might even allow, right? Esports is video games. All right, if my child likes video games so much, can I encourage my child to create his or her own game? Maybe that's a coda right there. So the way you come at it is very different. Or your child, my daughter, for example, loves to dance. She's been dancing since she was 3, and I realized that she really loves it. She has a dance coach, right? So my point is, sometimes you'll be amazed at what your child likes to do is a sign, what likes to do online is a sign of their interest. So how do you work with them? So those are my 3 E's, is educate your children, empower them to make the right decisions, and empathize with them, and think about when you were a teenager. Imagine if you had the whole world at your fingertips. So understand the world they are living in, and then give them the skill set they need to thrive in the world we live in. But you cannot lie to yourself. You cannot wish it away. Hope is not a strategy. You can't just pray and fold your arms. God is not a genie. He expects us to do the work as well. There's faith, but you have to do the work. And my last one in that line is rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat and start all over again. You don't stop educating. You don't stop empowering. You don't stop empathizing. Different things will always come up. So you have to be ready to say, when something comes up, bring it up. Hey guys, did you hear about that trend that is going around on TikTok? Even your children will be like, whoa, mommy, how do you know about that trend? You are relevant. The minute you're relevant, they want to hang out with you. But if you act like you're a dinosaur from 1920, they will not talk to you. So
wonderful. I love that. That's 3 E's, and then rinse and repeat. I think that it's so, because you tend to forget, oh, you've done that, you tick it off like as a checklist. Oh yeah, I've spoken to them about that, I've spoken to them about this. But as they grow up, or something like you said could come on, so you're constantly having to do those 3 E's over and over again. Wonderful. And that actually leads me to my next question, really. You know, we as Manthano, we have offer a parenting masterclass, and it's a unique framework. And one of the pillars is that we say it's important for our parents to always remember that they are building their children up to be leaders. So how that does that? When it comes to technology, we know that, like we've already discussed, is that a child from as young as a baby really knows how to operate it. They know how to swipe the screen. They know what to do. So we know that because they're born into a digital world, really. So alongside the opportunities, we've heard that there is a lot of diverse risk and harm involved too. So what can a parent do to safeguard their children and at the same time create a balance? Because with this educating power and to emphasize, we're allowing we're saying, okay, we want our children really to, we want to help them. We want to, I think you used the word there, where we are trying to, we're not trying to know it all, but we are we're trying to be there for them to, I think there was a C word you said.
Yeah, I was saying, it's not just about the content, it's about the context.
Yes, context is the word I'm trying to say. So how do we do that as a parent then? How do we balance safeguard and at the same time safeguard and then create a balance? How will we do that?
One of the things I like us to always remember is that common sense hasn't disappeared from the world because we're in the digital age. Okay? Common sense hasn't disappeared for us as parents and for children. Like I keep saying, your child has a bedtime and you're not going to send your child to a club or a nightclub or drop them in the middle of a carnival in the city and say, all right, guys, I'm just going to, hopefully maybe we'll meet up after a few hours, don't go home with anyone, right? Peace out. Nobody does that. You wouldn't go and say, because there's a really good new club on the corner of 5th and Forbes or whatever in Manhattan, I'm going to let my child go to that club and hang out and have a few drinks, right? But don't get drunk. Remember, just don't get drunk. Have a few drinks. Nobody does that. That same common sense needs to move from the physical world to the online world. And I find that when parents give away the power, when they act like they don't understand it, very easy for the enemy to magnify that and say, yeah, you don't get it. Because you don't get it, you can't help your child. The minute you relinquish that power, your child becomes a prey. So how do we balance it? You need to keep it in mind that there's a reason you are the parent. There's a reason that you are a parent today. If you weren't meant to be here today and be a parent today, you wouldn't, right? So first of all, let's just floor that idea that you can't learn, that idea that you can't get it, you can get it. So now the balance is to say, all right, I run a framework called Parenting Vision Board. And what I teach parents is that you need to create a vision per child. Per child. So don't just do a blanket one.
Yeah.
Per child. What is your vision board per child? And I have a framework we walk through in the different areas that fit, okay, this adult I'm raising, I want them to be able to tick, 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 have these characters, I'm not talking about, a parent that comes and says, my child must be a doctor. That's not the one we're talking about. We're talking about a vision that understands your parenting style, understands your child's love language. Because if your parenting style, for example, doesn't match the way your child perceives love, that means there's a void. And voids cannot exist. Whether you want to call it universe, not universe, a void cannot exist. Something must fill it. So you want to ensure that your parenting style matches how your child sees love. Because if it doesn't align, there's always going to be a problem. And you can't afford to have a void, especially in the digital age, because there's always something waiting to fill that void. So the balance needs to come back to, why am I here? I'm raising an adult. I'm not raising children. I'm raising adults. And because I'm raising adults, that means there's certain things I want my daughter and my son to be able to do, and the way they see the world and who they are as independent, wholesome members of society. Then I walk backwards and say, what do I start to do as building blocks towards that? So I'll give you one very small example. When I went to school in the US, I studied in Nigeria. I finished secondary school there, then I went to Pittsburgh for university. And I found out that a lot of my classmates, they'd been working since they were like 15. So they had work experience. But the typical African parent is, okay, just get your A's in school. That's all. Of course they love us, but that was what it was. And I realized they had work experience. I realized they had extracurricular. It wasn't just about academics. And I thought, wow, this is so much richer than just being a good or A-star student, right? And I always said that when I have children, by God's grace, I would expose them to a lot more than just academics from very early on. So when my daughter at 3 years old, she started piano classes. It was a lot of course, at 3, attention span was lit, all of those things. But, I exposed her to playing chess. As she and her brother grew older, I exposed them to public speaking. I exposed them to so many activities, saying, it's not everything you would like, but I will give you like a buffet of different options so that you would find some things that you like, because we all come to the world with gifts and talents. It's my job as a parent, as a mother, my husband as a father, to nurture you, right? As a gardener, what are the things you like? How do we navigate it? So anyway, I would expose them to so many activities. And I remember along these lines of leadership you mentioned, and I'll tell my children, sometimes they won't like the particular activity. Maybe they won't like the chess classes. And I'll be like, yes, but we finish what we start. So you don't have to like
that conversation so many times, yeah.
But because we've started it, you will finish it and go with an open mind, because there's something in it you will learn. So for example, they didn't like chess. But guess what? Because they learned it, now one of them has started playing chess again. But they've also learned that sticks with them. What you start, you finish. So long as you are not in jeopardy, you are not in danger, there's not something wrong. Maybe because sometimes you have to listen to your children. Why don't they like a particular activity? Maybe there's something about the person. Maybe their spirit just, if outside from all of those things, you need to finish what you start. You need to realize that there's nothing you cannot learn, having a growth mindset. So that balance for me comes from saying my eye is on the ball. I'm obviously prayerfully seeking God's face per child, because they're not the same. Is my parenting style working for my child? One of my children is all about words of affirmation, right? So imagine as a parent, I'm not praising you for hard work. I'm not saying, well done, I love you. That child is not feeling loved, even though in my head I'm saying, but you should know I love you.
I love you. No.
You feel it. If you don't feel it, then it's my job as a parent to change my style. I have another child whose love language is acts of service. She likes you doing things with her. So chores, for example, yesterday I was like, all right, give me your phone. You haven't gotten to your chores. She's like, all right, mom, can you hang out with me while I do my chores? All she wanted was for me to be there, and we were chit-chatting while she did everything. I could have said, no, what do you mean? Do your chores. When you finish, she left, her phone was in my pocket the whole time, but she just wanted to chat. And we did while she did her chores. Did it take anything away from me than time? No. So I think when we're balanced, when we show up every day saying, what does my child need per time, per season? Because the seasons also change. Then you're able to be there for your child, and you're able to pay attention to what's working, what's not working, how they're feeling, how they're responding. And then you put on your oxygen mask as well. We haven't even talked about that. But mom, dad, you got to take care of yourself.
You have to take care of yourself.
You can't give from an empty cup. So you got to take care of yourself. I keep saying that self-care is not a luxury. It's a necessity.
A necessity.
So yeah, that's what I think.
Thank you so much. Love that. And alongside that, really, I think when the connection is there, then they're more open to telling you the things that they're doing in technology. Because if not, there are other ways in which they'll hide it. So keeping that conversation, keeping that open, the doors open for that connection is so important. Thank you. I've loved this session. So can you just tell us what other resources do you have that our audience can access to? I know there's a wealth out there.
Yeah. So first of all, I would say LagosMums is like our headquarters. And so it has 10 years and more worth of a lot of content, from everything from packing your hospital bag to choosing the right school, to what age is the right age for social media, all the way through, right? So LagosMums.com is an open blog, and it has articles on different topics, ages, technology and parenting is a whole category as well. So we have a lot of resources there. Another thing I have that I really like to give away to parents, excuse me, is a website, a link on our website that's LagosMums.com/quiz. And we have a couple of quizzes you can take. One of the ones I share with parents is the Digital Savvy Parenting Quiz. So I ask you a few questions to see how digital savvy are you? Do you even know what Snapchat is if I put it in front of you? All right, so we have that quiz as well. We also have a quiz for parenting styles, children's love language. So you can check that out, because when remember I mentioned earlier that people perish for lack of knowledge. If you don't know what you're working with, you don't know what to fix. You don't even know, where do I start from? So it's your parenting style. Maybe you find there's a lot of tension in your house and you don't know why, but you take that parenting quiz and you realize, actually, my parenting style is quite permissive. And if you're a permissive parent, what does that mean? You let your child get away with whatever they want to get away with.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a child that gets used to getting their way. They're entitled. Then you wonder why the few times you want to insist on something, the child has a tantrum or throws a tantrum. It's because you haven't trained the child that their expectations. So you need to know your starting point first to know that, you know what, maybe something needs to change. And then lastly, I offer parenting coaching as well. Like I mentioned, I work with parents one-on-one to work out. I don't really do group because I find that when it's one-on-one, it's much more detailed.
Okay.
Because that way you work per child. So if you have 5 children, you will do it for all 5 children because no 2 children are the same.
Every child
Absolutely not. Every child is unique. Every child comes with their own gifts and talents. I mean, I have a course that people can access for that, but then I do one-on-one coaching to say, let us make a plan uniquely for your family and for your child. So it's like your roadmap of, and you kind of check in, what's working, what's not working, what do I need to tweak? Sometimes, you know, I keep saying that the areas in our life we don't go to school for are the areas that are the most important. We don't go to school for marriage, we don't go to school for parenting, and we don't go to school for wealth creation. We don't. But those 3 areas can make or break your life, right? So, so we have a lot of resources. The best way to get in touch with me would be on my social media. I'm at Yetty Williams on Instagram, and everything else for Lagos Mums is all the same. So at LagosMums on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and our website, LagosMums.com. We have a wealth of information. And if you send me a message or a DM, I can always respond to you if you have a specific request as well.
Excellent. And we'll be putting that link at the bottom of the video. You can actually see it there as right now. So wonderful. Thank you so much once again, Yetty, for such a lovely session. But it's not over yet. We love to allow our speakers to please give us a take-home activity. So what would you suggest for us as our take-home activity today?
Take-home activity. What I would say is, especially because we're talking about technology and parenting, I would advise you take the quiz to figure out how digital savvy you are as a parent. The quiz is on LagosMums.com/quiz, Quiz. And when you click on the particular quiz, it's going to give you a result. Are you a digital alien, for example? Like, you are so not even in the know of what's going on. You will know where to start from. Are you somewhere in between and you kind of have already started the conversation? Fantastic. And guess what? Everybody has work to do. So even me, that I'm very digitally savvy, I'm, on social media and all of that, I still have work to do because the digital world is so fast. When you think you have learned, when you think you know something, next thing it evolves to something else. So it's very important we understand what we know, we understand our limitations, we understand our relationship with technology. Because sometimes what makes parenting not effective in the digital world is the parent themselves has a resistance and has a negative relationship with technology. And if you have a negative relationship with technology, you can't lead your children because they can sniff it. If they can sniff it, they're not going to trust you. If they don't trust you, if they don't think you can help them, they're not going to listen to you. So that's my homework. What's your relationship with technology? Where do you fall in terms of being a digital savvy parent? And then from there, you know where you need to do a little bit more work.
Excellent. Wonderful. So parents, I hope you're ready to take that quiz. I will do it myself. I'm not too sure where I fall because even I struggle. But we will do that quiz. And remember, you can find that in our Parenting with Angel Eyes Facebook page. We will leave all homework assignments there for us to access as a reminder of where to access it from. So thank you, Yetty, once again for such a lovely sessions. And thank you, parents. Until we'll meet again. Take care and God bless you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.